We have the one and only for all things Halloween. This is Haunt Former.
This
Mac
is
is joining me
Hawthorne.
here on the show here tonight. Sports Hip Hop
Super
with DJ Mad
excited.
Max, Right 365, iHeartRadio, the Horror Shows edition with DJ Mad Max. Haunt Former Mac is in the building. Mac, what's going on, man?
What's up? When I saw your message, I'm like, dang, this guy's like interviewing like Tony Todd and like these crazy horror icons. So thank you for thinking of me. And then
Of
on top of
course.
that, I've seen your thing is like sports and hip hop, and now
Yeah.
you're into like horror stuff for October. Is this like your Halloween special?
Yeah, every October I do this. I interview a bunch of horror people. I did James A.
Really?
Janice last year. I usually
Oh,
pick
that's dope.
one YouTube creator, but you're next up on my list here because, in my opinion, there's only two YouTube creators that I really follow when it comes to horror stuff, and it's you and James A. Janice's channel for Dead
Wow.
Meat.
And I
Yeah,
mean, and James is like, he's like top tier.
yeah,
Like not
he's
just
the guy.
horror YouTube, just YouTube.
Yeah,
So, that's pretty dope. Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
of course. Yeah, I came across your channel. I'm not even gonna lie, man, because during October I get to really express my true horror fandom. I usually dedicate this month because I'm always doing all sports stuff and hip hop and artists and music reviews and all that stuff. So
Oh yeah.
I'm always going through things on YouTube for looking for animatronics and just going back
Mm,
into my old memories and reminiscing on the days when I was younger. And I came across one of your old videos of you ranking all the spirit animatronics from all the years
yes.
to come, and in particular the Gemmy
Yes.
animatronics.
The Gemmy
And
stuff.
oh yeah, because they used to be top tier and now they're pretty much garbage.
They're
And
trash now, and they used
yeah.
to be so good. Like they had a Hannibal Lecter one when I was a kid,
Oh, when
and
the
that
mask would
thing
flap open.
and it would pop open and
Yeah.
it sounded just like Anthony Hopkins and it looked just like him and it was like a Disney quality thing. And now they have like something at Lowe's that like is Michael Myers, but he like looks like a pancake. I'm just like, what is that? That's not Michael Myers.
No, and the sound effect on it isn't even the Michael Myers Halloween theme.
No, it's we joke about it. We say it's like a Nokia ringtone sound effect. It's terrible. That's
Uh,
not John Carpenter.
no, and even if you look at the Jason, the design of it just didn't look like the original Jason from the movies. It's got these weird utility
No.
gloves on. The Freddy, the mouth doesn't move. In order for it to be an authentic Freddy, it needs to be like the original one that came out with the moving mouth.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
you
not
can't have
authentic.
a character like Freddy who's known for the quips and the talking, and you can't have him like this static, molded plastic head. It looks goofy. So, man, they
No,
dropped the ball on those. I mean, they've had a couple actually, because they have at Home Depot, they've got the Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas. I actually think that one looks pretty good. It's
they always
also an
put a lot into
animated
the Jack
movie,
and
so
Sally ones.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a big property for them to do. So, but Michael Myers is too. I mean, especially with, the Halloween movies coming out. Like that's a big deal. So, I
Yeah.
still don't know why they haven't done a Michael Myers from this new trilogy that
I
just
agree with you because, in my opinion, I think James U. Courtney is the best shape since Nick Castle in the original one.
I
So
agree. I agree.
I
I
really am
mean,
not a fan of this one that they put out. And even if you look back at the Rob Zombie animatronic that they released years ago for Halloween and the H2O, can we bring those back? But
yeah, come on. You should try to interview. You haven't interviewed James Jude Courtney yet, have you?
I interviewed him
Oh, you did.
2 years ago. Yeah,
Did you? Because I was going to interview him too on the channel because he's just such a good shape.
yeah,
I mean, you can tell he puts a lot of, he's focused.
yeah. He is.
He's like the best part of these movies. Like even the ones people like, even this new one, because I've heard so much
I
about
hate
this
it.
new one.
I hate it, and we're gonna get into that.
Okay, good, good.
I hate it. I'm not a big fan of it at all. When they threw him in the compactor, part of my childhood died, and I was just like, "This isn't the end." It's
Oh yeah, they pulled a Halloween H2O kind of,
yeah,
and I guess we can talk about that when you want to get to it. But
yeah. No, but
yeah,
this is your interview, man. I want to make this about you because I know when you were younger, you're this big Halloween guy now on YouTube, but originally when you were younger, you kind of avoided horror movies and because you were squeamish. So, but your
yes,
love of the Halloween, the horror holiday comes from your parents working at theme parks with Busch Gardens and Disney. So it all
yeah,
starts from there and watching these Disney Halloween specials with your grandparents and falling
yep,
in love with these latex skeleton props. So
yeah.
just elaborate on that.
Yeah. Well, like everybody has like a little thing when they're a kid, like a teddy bear or I don't know, some kind of little toy that they hold near and dear. And I did. I had a couple teddy bears and like stuff from Build-A-Bear, but largely I had this latex skeleton and I would like sleep with it and like play with it when I was a kid. And I got called into the like office when I was in elementary school because I was drawing at
Oh,
that time.
is this the zombie prop store?
It
You're
was a
drawing all the
zombie
zombie
prop from
stuff? Yeah.
Spirit, yeah, and he was a crawling zombie. He was called the Death Crawler, and he had no legs. It was just a bloody stump, and you could remote control him like a RC car, and he would crawl around. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I had to get it for my birthday, and I got called into the office, and my parents had like a parent teacher conference, like, "Hey, your kid is like demented. He might be like a sociopath," and I'm not. Spoiler alert, but I've always been gravitated to that dark stuff. I just find it fascinating. And, even now I'm in college for mental health, and I'm a big like advocate for mental health and for like mental health counseling and treatment and stuff. But there's always that dark side of it, like the abnormal psychology and like serial killers and stuff. And that just fascinates the heck out of me. But it started with that, started with my parents working at the theme parks, doing Disney World stuff, going to the stores and seeing the Halloween stuff. And it just grew from there. I used to listen to scary stories um, a lot when I was a kid, like campfire stories, like Monkey's Paw comes to mind, stuff like that. And my love for it has just grown. And like you said, I'm squeamish. I still am squeamish. And we can talk about that because I'm this close to seeing that Terrifier 2 movie. But I watched a clip online and I got like, but man, it looks good, but it looks like a lot. But I was scared to watch horror movies. And then it was actually after I started the channel that I'm like, I'm doing videos about horror. I'm doing videos about scary stuff and I don't even watch it. I feel like inauthentic. And so AMC's Fear Fest was on, which they do every October.
Child's Play
And
2.
and they were playing Child's Play 2. And I was watching Child's Play 2 and I couldn't turn it off because I was so interested. And the same thing happened with Halloween 2. It was weird. The sequels, for some reason, were what got me into it.
In
And they were
1981.
edited. They were edited for TV. So it was all like the gore was cut out. It was just like the story and the scary bits. And I'm like, this is what's up. Like, this is good. And now, since I've seen those movies in their entirety, and I don't know if people know this, but for my 21st birthday, my parents got Alex Vincent to make an appearance at my birthday party.
I heard about that, and you didn't prepare a camera or anything.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
prepare a camera, so I don't have any like. There's a few pictures of me and him, but he was such a cool guy to meet, and so like that was bringing it full circle because they remembered that was the movie that got me into it.
And you brought the
So
doll there from Cult of Chucky.
he did. It was
Yeah.
the good guy
Yeah.
version. I don't know which one. It was one of like the limp ones, so it wasn't like like an articulate one. But there was a point where he was doing pictures with my family and friends who were at the party, and he had Chucky, and he's like, "Here, hold this." And so he hands me Chucky, and I'm holding Chucky. I'm like, "This is like the holy grail of like horror stuff to me. I love Chucky." So like that was like surreal to like have Chucky. That was so neat.
That's surreal. Just hearing
Oh
about your
yeah.
story and introduction to horror and how you built this huge fan base that you have and people just following you because the thing I like about your channel is that you change it up. You don't keep it just movie reviews. You don't keep it just review products. You do walkthroughs and go through tours of the stores to let the people know what's really going on out here for Halloween and what you can get for your props and everything. But you also do a lot of scary stories that terrify you when you look at your YouTube videos and you always reveal these scary stories. That's
Oh yeah.
creative. So I would say, like that's what I say when it's these two channels, Hawkformer and Dead Meat, to me, top two channels for horror.
Oh yeah, Dead Meat's incredible. I don't think you can top him, especially if like his show honestly should be on television. Like it's
It should
that
be,
good.
yeah.
The production qual like everything, the editing, it's so good. And it's such a simple idea counting the kills, but he does so much more than that, of course. But for me, my whole shtick is I'm for all things Halloween. So I try not to be a one trick pony. I do the
Mm.
store stuff, I do reviews, I do the scary stories. I do some true crime and horror. I try to I want to encompass the entire celebration of what it means to be a Halloween horror fan.
Your two favorite horror movies, I know, The Shining and The Exorcist. You say it all the time, but when you
Yeah.
first saw The Shining, it bored you.
Well, to be fair, I watched The Shining on my iPad, which is don't do that. I mean, there's a famous quote from like David Lynch. He did some interview. He's like, if you're watching a movie on your effing iPhone, like you're kidding yourself. And he's right. You should never watch The Shining of all movies on your iPad. But I did. And I was in that immature horror stage where I just wanted the thrill. And when you see the images of The Shining, you see Jack Nicholson with the axe going through the door. And so I'm just sitting there and he's walking around and he's drinking at the bar, talking to this bartender. I'm just like, where is the scary part? When's it going to get good? And that doesn't happen, of
No.
course, until the very end of The Shining. But then I kept watching it because it was so captivating. And I'm like, this is there's something else here. And then I just couldn't stop watching. I'm like, okay, this is like one of the best movies ever. And it really is. I mean, with time, it's aged like a fine wine.
It has. In addition to these two movies, what would you say are your top five category for horror movies?
Oh my gosh.
That's
This
tough.
changes so much. I have a list. Let me see if I
Oh,
can
he
find
made a
it.
list.
I made a list because I did a video a few years ago and that has changed. And it's also, come on, there's got to be my list on here. It's hard too because I don't know if I'm going to find it, but there's some movies where it's like, do I classify it as a horror movie? Like Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite movies, but a lot of people like that's more of a thriller. Same thing with like a movie like Misery,
Mm,
which awesome movie. The Exorcist and The Shining are my favorites. I feel like the original Halloween has to be on there somewhere. I mean, that's like the slasher movie. Um, Silence of the Lambs. I'm tempted to put Scream. I don't know if I could. Man, that's hard. I think Saw. Saw's really
so
worked up my ranking. And it's pretty funny I say that because I am a squeamish little guy, but I love the story of those Saw movies.
the traps.
Yeah, the traps. I'm ready for that new one. I think there's a new one coming out next year.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think Evil Dead Rise is coming out. Then we got Scream
Evil
6
Dead
coming out.
Rise.
So
It has
very cute.
been a really good last couple years for horror fans. Like before, I feel like the superhero thing was really dominating like the box office, like with the Avengers, Marvel, and like the DC rivalry. And I like them to an extent. That's not my usual thing, but who doesn't enjoy seeing like Batman or Spider-Man or something? But now we're getting all of these horror, not just like franchise movies, like you said, Evil Dead or Halloween or Scream, but also like cool original new movies that also are working up as their own legacy, I guess.
Exactly. Spirit used to go back there 2006, 2007 is when you started really attending Spirit. And if you look at it, it's changed completely since then because I think my first Spirit was 2007. That's when you first saw the Jason animatronic. There was this thing there. I think that was the Hannibal Lecter one. Then there's this
Yep.
bride with the her head in or the
Yeah, the
husband's
beheaded
head and
bride.
yeah, I remember that prop being there. And do you remember
Creepy
this
stuff.
guy that he had like no body and he was hanging from a rope and he would scream when you'd go up and I think he was
Yes,
caged in. I remember those props going there when I was younger. Completely changed now. They've cheapened so much.
they have. I made a whole video on that, in
Yeah.
fact. Um, and I still love Spirit, and I talk to a lot of the people from Spirit, and I've had some inside conversations with some of them, and it's crazy because it has changed. I don't know if that's because I learned that the company went public a couple years back, and so they're not like a private company anymore. So they have to like make sure they're I don't know how the entire like stock market thing works, but they have to pay back their investors or whatnot. So they want to play it safe. Like let's not have like a woman holding her own head anymore. Let's make it clean for the kids. But how I feel like when I was a kid, the reason I liked that stuff is because it was so edgy and like creative and creepy. And now it feels like some of them are cool. I can't say it for all of the stuff, but it seems like a large amount are like glorified like Happy Meal toys.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a little upsetting. The themes I think they've improved. Like if you go through the store, they have some really neat things they've done with the screens and the walkthrough elements. I mean, they've definitely upped their game in that department. But in terms of the actual props, I don't know. I feel like they've slacked a little bit.
yeah. I remember being there going younger too with the laboratory. I know you remember that one. When you go there,
Mm-hmm.
you see the mad
Yeah,
scientist and
scientist with the brain that pops
yeah,
out.
yeah.
That stuff is great. I mean, that stuff was so cool. And you would go in, there'd be like severed heads or arms, and just the vibe was different. It was a lot darker in the stores,
Remember those
even.
little needle pens too with the
Yep.
blood? Yeah.
Yeah, the blood in the needle pen. I don't know. They just kind of like this. It kind of has this like corporate like wash over it. And I know their ultimate goal is they're a business. They want to make money. But I wish they put a little more into making it actually creepy in the store. Because that's what I think what people want. And that's
I
what I
agree.
want.
You walk in there, it feels like a fun atmosphere. It's supposed to be creepy when you
Yeah, it
walk in
feels
those
like you're
places.
walking in Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Right. I want it to feel like when you walk into like Spencer's at the mall
Exactly. That's the
or Hot
exact theme.
Topic.
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer's own Spirit. I mean, they're owned by the same company. Like, so I feel like they could do that. I just don't know why they don't.
Eventually, do you see it turn for the corner for the best and getting back to where it was eventually? Since especially you talk with these people at Spirit, do you see
I
it?
hope so. I hope so because I got a big response from that video. That video got a bunch of views and it got a lot of people talking. So, and that's all I wanted to do with that video is open the conversation. Because if people hated on it and said no, you're wrong, then I'd be like, okay, that's just my soapbox. But the fact that I got overwhelming support for my arguments means that there are other people out there who want to see the same change. So I hope Spirit will listen. And even I was given a possible like ultimatum. They could do the front display as like a kid friendly one and make the back darker and have more of like the gory creepy stuff. So you appease both camps.
Mm.
So everyone wins. Then parents can be like, no, Timmy, we can't go in the back. That's for adults. You know, just like if you went into Spencer's, you know, don't go in the back of Spencer's. I have bad memories of going in the back of Spencer's when I was a kid. But yeah, that's how it goes.
No, unbelievable. A big thing of what you do though is the haunts because originally you started out with the haunt and that transformed into haunt former, but you do these haunts every year. And tell me about the one that you have upcoming now.
So the one upcoming, I was actually just over there in the garage working on it a little bit tonight. This year it's called the Cotton County Crematorium. And the idea is it's a crematorium, funeral home, morgue, autopsy, embalming thing, kind of all of that in one, but it's run by a cult. And the cult, they like sacrifice or offer up these bodies in the morgue to the Grim Reaper, whom they like worship. And so I just thought that was a weird idea. Like it felt like something out of like an 80s horror movie. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that as a haunted house. So I've been working on getting some of the stuff together and trying to craft certain scares. There's a scene where there's a going to be a body, like a tied up dead body with candles around it, like they're doing some kind of like sacrifice. And then I'm going to have a dummy dressed in a robe, like a cult member, and then a person dressed in the same robe. And so then when the guest walks in, they can jump scare them, like turn around and get them. So I love that stuff, you know, going through haunted houses and seeing how they craft the scene, like how they subvert you, like, oh, look over here, boom, they get you from behind. Like all that stuff is there's an art to the haunted house game, and it's a huge industry. So
No, it
it's
definitely is.
oh yeah, it's big. I've been to a few like conventions, like their haunted house conventions, and it's nuts. Like when I go, I'm like my thing isn't anything. I'm just a garage haunt. Like that's just a homemade little haunted house I'm just showcasing to the world. But some haunted houses are like they're like Universal Studios quality. Like the stuff they do, it's insane. And the animatronics they have, and they have hundreds of actors doing this huge thing. But it is an industry, and it's booming in October. It really is.
Have you thought about getting in touch with the Travel Channel at all for any ideas? Because you have some great ideas.
That's true. I probably should get in contact with them because I know that they dip pretty heavy into the haunted house industry. I know they did the Making Monsters show many years ago with the Distortions crew, whom I've also talked to quite extensively, and they make some awesome products for haunted houses. And so to see that like on a public television, because they do reruns every October, I'm like, that's cool that like it's not just the niche industry, like people are interested in seeing how this stuff happens.
Oh, I could definitely see that you'd be a big fit for that. But you're going to school right now for mental health, for a mental health advocate. But have you thought about even as a minor doing screenwriting?
I would love to. Well, I don't mean the shameless plug, but it's right here, so I'm gonna do it. But I got my book out
Oh
now.
wow.
I have a book. It's on Amazon. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it just to get the stories out there. The book's called Kamuffins, if you want to look it up, and it's an anthology of short stories. And so my ultimate, I guess, dream would be to have one of these stories or multiple get adapted into a screenplay. I would love to write the screenplay for any of these and have it become a movie because I love, I'm a movie guy. I love movies. I watch so many of them. And so I always did think, yeah, maybe I should go to school for screenwriting. But I really feel like if you're a screenwriter, you might just have that in you. I don't know how to explain it. Like you can't teach that in a class. It
Mm.
just kind of is. You can be taught the technique or the form, but the creativity, that's only from you, I guess. Like it's like trying to go to school to be an artist if you're just not artistically inclined, maybe.
No, that's interesting. I could definitely see, but you're right though. It's not something that it could be taught. You're either born with it or you're not.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because I get asked that a lot. Like, do you go to film school or do you go to writing school? And it's like, no, I've thought about it, but and it's a fickle industry. Some people they go their whole life to film school and they end up being a travel agent. It's just, because it's a hard thing to get into.
You
So I
you
just feel
work
like
at a movie theater actually.
I do. I work at a movie theater. Yeah, so I like seeing people going to movies in the theater. I'm a big fan of that experience, like the theatrical experience. And to have been working there through some of these big horror franchises is cool for me because I know now when I'm older and I get to nerd out to like my kids or whatever and say, like, I was there when Jordan Peele, Nia DaCosta's Candyman came out, or I was there for Halloween and Halloween Kills, or all of this stuff. I can kind of gloat about that, so I'm kind of glad. Um, but I get to see what movies audiences like, what they don't like. Like I've had some people walk out of movies and be like, "That's trash. I can't even finish that movie." It's honestly not. I think one of them was like The Boy 2. Like I can't watch The Boy 2. I'm like, okay. Or sometimes they come out and there's a smile on their face and it's like, I just love that movie, man. And so that lets me know, it helps me gauge what people are interested in, and then it helps me as a creative or as a writer go, okay, people like this with this, how can I bring these together or how can I expand on that?
No, and I'd be one of those ones that would have walked out of that theater. Thank God for Peacock for this new Halloween ends because I'm not a Peacock guy. I'm big on don't go to Peacock, screw the streaming services, go to the movie theaters. I'm
Mm-hmm.
old fashioned when it comes to that, but I've been so busy lately and my schedule's been hectic. I haven't had time, so I said I'll throw this on Peacock. I wasn't a big fan of Halloween Kills, so I really didn't mind it. So I threw on
Right.
Halloween ends. I know you like Halloween Kills, and
I do like
and
Halloween Kills.
I'm gonna really start to turn here and agree with that meme that's been going around. I don't know if you saw it, but people are like, "Well, maybe I treated you too harshly," and it was a
With
picture.
Halloween
Yeah,
Kills.
you saw that.
Yeah, I think I have. Oh
So when
my
I saw
god.
Halloween Ends, it was just we're gonna get into it. Spoilers, everything. So say if you're handed this script right now with David Gordon Green, Blumhouse, they'd say, Mac, I want you to write the Halloween Ends here. What
Oh
would
my
you have
god.
changed in this movie? What
Well,
what would you what
the
would you have
first thing
changed?
is they have four writers, which I don't know. I'm not
I
judging them
saw
based.
that because isn't it usually David Gordon Green and
Yeah,
who
and Danny McBride.
Danny
It's usually like
McBride? Yeah,
just
and they had
them.
two extra ones this year.
Yeah, to me, I feel like most. I shouldn't say this is an end all be all, but most competently written good movies are one writer. Usually they're the director too, but they have a vision for this in their head. When I see four writers on a project, instantly I'm thinking cookie cutter, or I'm thinking writer's room, like just shooting ideas out of their butt. Like what can we do? To me, it doesn't feel like a genuine story when you have that many writers. And maybe some of them are like touch up writers or whatnot, but I don't know. That was a big red flag. Um, and so I've seen Halloween Ends twice. And the first time I really didn't like it. I'm just like you. I like hated that they didn't have Myers in it. I hated that they just kind of the other two movies, the ones I liked, like I really liked Kills, and I liked what they did with that movie, and they just bloop. But I saw it a second time, and I watched it not as a Halloween movie, but just as a movie, like as a horror movie, like trying to forget that it's even associated, and just watching it for what it was, and it was a lot better. It still had a lot of flaws, but I could actually sit there and like not grind my teeth because I got what they were going for, but it was a situation of like wrong place, wrong time. And there's some kind of meta thing in there where like I don't know if you saw my video on it, but I talked about the comparisons between this and Halloween 3.
Season of the Witch. I saw that video.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Season of the Witch, but
Yeah.
you have like the fonts, and they like suggest it in the posters, and that the masks are in the other two movies, and that this movie's different and is trying to be like Halloween 3. But Halloween 3 never promised like the trailer wasn't, oh, here's Michael Myers, and then when you go to the movie, it's Halloween 3. Like the trailers have the weird Stonehenge masks with the silver shamrock chip in the back. But this trailer for Halloween
Promised
End
Michael Myers.
promised Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and then it completely adds a new character. See, what I would have done if they really wanted to do this, which I don't know why, is one, make that Corey Cunningham thing the middle chapter and then end on a high with Michael. Or you introduce Corey in the first movie, like maybe one of Allison's friends, or like the one that gets with her, becomes her boyfriend after that guy like cheats on her in the first
And the
one.
first one, yeah.
Yeah, and then you make his story a bigger part of it in the second one in Kills, and then you really show how he turns in the third one. So we actually have some emotional attachment to him. Really, it could have just been Allison herself as the thing with where Michael looks at her and creates this thing, because she had trauma from the other two movies. So it could have been warranted. I don't know why they added a whole new character. It just felt
Horrible.
really weird. It was, I don't know, like I respect what they were doing now, having watched it, but all of the hate for this movie is understood, warranted. They have it coming. It's really mind-boggling that they chose to do this, you know? And I was watching interviews with like Jamie Lee Curtis and David Gordon Green and the cast and stuff. And I like deep horror. I like the existential horror. I like the, what do they call it now? Elevated horror, and like Hereditary or whatever. But they're going on about how like, oh, it's an allegory for evil, and people watch it for like they put their fears in Michael. And I'm like, it it's Michael Myers in a mask, and he stabs people and walks around on Halloween. That's what we wanted, that's what fans really want. And when you don't do that, you're isolating your fan base to hate you.
Exactly. And that's what they did with Halloween 3. And now I like Halloween 3, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
I've learned to just live with it, and it's become a cult hit when you really look at it in the horror
Yeah, it
community.
has.
I really don't understand why because there are some people out there that I know who
Mhm.
hated the first two but love this one. I don't know why they love this one. I think
I
it's
don't know how
horrible,
that happens.
but this is just horrible. And when you're
Yeah.
building the character Michael Myers, right? When you're looking at it, when you go back to Donald Pleasance with the first one, and they say that he's pure evil, he's getting shot 6 times. The whole town is stabbing him and killing him in Halloween Kills. He gets up again. You're gonna tell me that this guy, they kill him in the kitchen and then they throw him in a car compactor? He's just a human
Yeah.
in the end. They really got to emphasize, is this guy human or is he
Right,
evil?
because they keep changing it.
Yeah,
Because they set up this element which I didn't care for, but okay, I just followed the movie's logic. Like he kills and he becomes like supernatural. Like it gives him power. But then he kills people in this movie and he's still weak.
yeah.
So which is it? Is he OP? Is he a human? They can't decide. They just need him in the movies, you know. Because I know Jamie Lee Curtis, and God bless her, I love her. She's fantastic, and I enjoy her character. But she's in this movie talking. She was in a behind the scenes like, I don't even care about Michael Myers, whatever. But it's like that's what that's what this franchise is.
That
Like if
is
you don't have Michael Myers, that's what it's all about. It's just like Friday the
exactly.
13th without Jason. You go, it's like the inverse of a superhero movie. You go to Captain America to see Captain America. You go to Halloween to see Michael Myers. That's just how it is. You know?
It is. No, you're absolutely right. And I was seeing all these tweets online, and a perfect tweet for this was, "Wow, I didn't realize that Michael Myers was a guest star in his own movie."
It's true. It really is.
He
I
really
mean,
was.
like, had the Corey Cunningham thing been its own movie, fine. Like, it's an interesting idea of like you get infected with evil. I know it's kind of been done before. I know it's partially based on Christine, but you know, it's a neat idea. But to shoehorn it in, especially not just in a Halloween movie, but in the finale Halloween movie, no. And it's like, say what you will about Halloween Kills, because I love Halloween Kills, but I understand 100% all of the criticisms towards it. But at least it was a Halloween
It
movie. It
was
was
a
Halloween.
Halloween movie. It was.
It was a little campy. It was a little, cheesy, and some of the dialogue sucked, but I liked it because of that. Like the 2018 movie was like, I thought it was a pretty competently well done
Oh,
movie.
I
Like,
agree. When we go to Halloween Ends and we look back
oh
on that now, it looks like
yeah,
a masterpiece. It looks
now
like
it
a
looks like
masterpiece.
Casablanca. Yeah, really, that should have been it.
It should have
The,
been.
that should have been the end. Like, we got the one-off thing where Laurie, he comes back and Laurie kills him. Boom, we got it. We got it. Couldn't do it. They just had to milk it for more money, and then they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of this new film at all. I hated it, and just for
Yeah.
so many of the reasons why. There were times when I was looking at this movie and I was laughing, and one of those scenes comes from the beginning when he kicks open the door, and apparently you could get kick across the top floor, leap over just by the door
Yeah,
pushing
I
you
didn't
out.
get that at all because he pushes open the door. I get that might bump a kid, but the railing is like 4 feet
Yeah, I
high.
know.
How did the kid flip over that railing? He and also that see some of the things in the movie, like it's despite my I'm wanting to like it more than I did, but it's like he's kicking, he's freaking out in this room. Why is he freaking out so bad? Like as in rational, because he's probably like my age. I'm gonna be 24. I'm assuming he was probably 24. You're a rational person. A kid locks you in the closet. He's in there for like 2 seconds, and he's like, "Open the door!"
Yeah.
He's like kicking the door. It's like, why are you so scared, dude? You're just in the dark. Like it. He's going nuts. And then some of the dialogue, like the way it was edited, feels like they cut out stuff. Like there's one part where he says to Allison, he's standing there and he's like, I killed someone. Allison like stops, turns around, and I'm assuming there was something said there, and it's just cut for time. She just walks up and like holds his hand, and then it cuts to them on the motorcycle. I'm like, he just said he killed somebody, and you're just on the motorcycle now. I don't know.
Or how
There,
about the dialogue in the restaurant when they're like burn it to the ground, and then I don't know if she says it or he says it, but one of them says, I'll light the match.
Yeah,
And then
he
it
said
cuts to them
that.
on the motorcycle, and I said, "What is this? Natural born killers? What
Yes,
am
it
I?"
felt like yes, it felt like natural born. I don't I don't know some of the decisions that were made. Again, that's why I go back to the Four Writers thing, because I feel like somewhere in there's a Halloween movie. Somewhere in there's Christine remake. Somewhere in there's Natural Born Killers. Like they all brought something to the table. And maybe if you split them apart on their own, they were neat, but you throw them all into a cluster of a movie and it just does not work
No, it
as a
doesn't.
competent movie, and especially as a Halloween movie, and especially as a Halloween finale movie.
Yeah, no. There's got to be another one at this point,
I
and
know.
I really
There's a
don't want this.
petition. There's a petition to reboot Halloween Ends or remake it. It
No,
just came out.
well, maybe I should sign it. But to be honest, when we look at it, I think H2O is the perfect ending. But if we really want to just keep it how it is, Halloween 2 from 1981 was the perfect ending. Him blowing up in the
Yeah,
hospital,
it was
ended from
great.
there. Or if you just wanted to leave it in 1978 where Carpenter really
Yeah,
wanted it, with him still out there.
that's what it really should have been. And
Yeah.
if they do want to do future Halloween movies, my suggestion to them is, again, I liked Halloween Kills, but I really like the sequences when it goes back to the 70s in Halloween Kills,
Mhm.
when it shows like, because it looks really good. It
It
looks
does.
like, so yeah. So what they should do is make a movie that is like a sequel to the original, but it's during that time. Like it's not modern day. Because if you bring Myers into modern day, he's old. You know, there's no way around that unless he's
No.
just perpetually, but he ages, you know, because he's a kid and then he becomes Michael Myers. So he obviously ages like a person. So you can't have him be 21 or whatever forever.
No.
Um, but what you could do is, you know, at the end of Halloween, Dr. Loomis looks over the ledge and Michael's gone. And then this new movie is just seeing where he went. That would be interesting. You don't
It
have to have
would.
Laurie Strode in it. It's just new people. Because I kind of like that idea of he just goes and stalks different people. Or maybe it's Halloween 1979. I don't know.
No,
Where does he
that'd
go
be
for a
interesting.
year? I would be interested to watch it.
No,
I'd be there.
I
You
would be
know it's
too.
not over. They're going to do more.
No, that can't be the end. Enough. He's still alive. He wasn't in the car compactor. I don't want to
They'll
see
do
it.
something. They'll do a Halloween H2O because, or Halloween Resurrection, really. Because H2O, she chops his head off with an axe and it rolls on the ground. And you're like, okay, he's dead. And
Yeah,
then in the next one, they're like, it was actually not
it was
him.
the ambulance driver,
Yeah.
the
So they'll
paramedic.
have, yeah, they'll have something where it's like, oh, we got a different inmate from that asylum. You know, like how they killed the guy in Halloween Kills. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
what they'll
when
do.
he falls off of the top of the, was it the hospital there? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They got to do something
No, Halloween Ends. The fact, another weak scene in that movie, and I just got to point out because it's so ridiculous. How about the fact that Corey Cunningham is wrestling with Michael
with
Myers on the
Michael
ground,
Myers.
and he
I
wins, and he
I
takes his
know.
mask?
I really felt bad too for, I don't know if I'll bring it up if I talk to him ever, but with James Jude Courtney, because I love his performance throughout the other two movies.
I
Like even
agree.
the gripes people have with Halloween Kills, usually the compliment is James Jude Courtney is still great as Michael Myers. But in this movie, they make him like have to hunch over and he's like walking all weird. And it's like they kind of like disrespected his character
Yeah.
in the sense of like him being this intimidating force. Because a lot of the sequels, because I've seen like all of the Halloween movies, and some of them they make Michael Myers a little laughable. You know,
Yeah. There's tons of them,
there's tons of them where it's like, okay, that's a little ridiculous, or that mask looks goofy, or
The
he's not very,
H2O mask, the
yeah,
CGI mask.
yeah, and it's like, what were they thinking? But in that 2018 movie, when he starts killing people, you're like, oh, he's a threat. Like this is intense again. And then in this, they just ruined that.
Yeah.
They just sucked all that out,
Not a
and
fan.
then it made, and because you focus on this Corey character and you weaken Michael Myers, that when the final act that people wanted to see happens between them, there was no build up to it. Like it didn't feel like it was building up to it was like, here's a different movie and then here's like a short film that we tacked on the end that's like a fanfic, but Michael Myers gets beat really easily. I thought he was going to kill Laurie because at first you think she wins, and then he grabs her. I'm like, oh, they're both gonna die. I'm like,
That's
that's what
how
I
I
thought.
wanted it. That's how I
Yeah.
wanted it in the end. And then you see these premieres where it says "Thank you, Jamie," and I said, "Oh, she died."
Oh, she
That's
dies, and it's
that's what
like a
I thought before I even went into the film. And then I see
no.
this, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And then I'm seeing these tweets online for people who love the movie, and I don't know, they must be insane. I mean, that they love this thing. And they're saying that Michael Myers, this was always Laurie's story. Michael Myers was just a side piece. Really? Because I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And like this might get me in hot water for saying this, but I really do love the original Halloween. I love Laurie Strode and I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean no disrespect to her, and because she's a brilliant actress, but she's just kind of some girl in the first one. Like she's not a deep character.
No,
She's just the babysitter that like the movie was going to be called Babysitter Murders. It was just like
exactly.
it was just to make money as a horror movie. They didn't know it was going to be amazing. Now John Carpenter's work and Dean Cundey and all of the and Deborah Hill, all that work put into the movie is what made it so much more than it could have been. Like it could have been some cheesy killer movie, but they made it what it is. But Laurie Strode was never this like deep character that was what we had to follow. Because if that was the case, then all of the sequels would have her in it.
Exactly.
It's people watch it because of Michael Myers and to see what he does. Now, ultimately, I think horror works when you have like evil versus good and you get that clash. That's where the interesting part comes in. So Laurie represents that good, but you go to see the bad, you go to see the horror, and you can't just take that out of it. To
No.
me, that diminishes the entire thing.
Yeah. No. Completely horrible. I'll have to sign that petition. But I want to get into
Yeah, find
the
that
Chucky
petition.
series. What are
Ooh,
your
yeah.
thoughts on season two?
I so here's the thing. I have not watched episode 2. I only saw the pilot. Um because I don't know what was up. I just wasn't around to watch it. Like last season I like watched them all live like the same night because I wanted to like be there with the fans. So I need to get back on my schedule to actually watch Chucky. Loved the first season. I need to do a review on that first season because like Child's Play is one of the few horror franchises where it's been the same creative team throughout the entire thing. And I just really admire that, like Don Mancini's work and how all of these like character threads have built up to this show. Like, because you have some of the stuff with like Nika or Tiffany or Andy, and now we're all seeing how that's paying off. And so season 1 ended on a great like finale yet cliffhanger. And so then in this first episode, spoilers for Chucky, but Andy like flies off this cliff with all the Chucky dolls and it like blows up. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, there is no way they killed my man Andy. They did not just. They can't kill him in the opening.
Yeah.
And then in a little bit they say, well, no one found his body. I'm like, he's gonna come back and make some kind of hero move later. But and maybe it's also because I met Alex and he's such a nice guy. But I'm like, you can't kill him off in the opening. Like he's gotta come back. But I really like that opening. I really like the first pilot episode of season 2, and the setup for this like Catholic school thing is very intriguing because whenever you think you know where Chucky's gonna go, it flips on you.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, Cursed Chucky is in like a spooky mansion. Now it's in an asylum. Or, oh, Bride of Chucky is going to be him and Tiffany. No, now they have a kid. Seed of Chucky. So it always changes. Meaning there's even one at the military school. So I mean there's so many different places where Chucky's been. So it's not surprising that now he's at this like boarding school. And I think that's a really good environment for him. And it looks like there are a lot of homages to other horror movies. I saw some um bonus scene on YouTube where it's like a Clockwork Orange
Okay.
with Chucky. He's got like his eyes peeled open and they're making him watch movies. And I'm like, this is fun. Chucky always brings the fun out of horror.
Yeah.
And so that's cool. As a big Chucky fan, I'm super excited to finish it.
Yeah, and there's nothing more horror than Catholic school. With this parent-teacher conference, I wanted to ask you this:
Yeah.
Was this Catholic school?
No, 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 no. This was
No,
just a public.
this
This
was
was just
public school. Yeah, because
yeah. This is
I had a certain situation where,
in a Catholic school.
yeah, I went to Catholic school my whole life, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, and I drew pictures of all the slashers, Michael Myers, Jason.
Oh, that probably didn't go over well.
No, no, when I was in second grade, and no, it didn't go over well.
Oh gosh, you had the ruler.
Yeah, I drew all of them. I drew the Saw doll. I drew Michael Myers,
Did you
Freddy,
really?
Jason on a piece of paper. Yeah, because and I've seen like another meme of another hip hop artist that I follow on Instagram.
Hmm.
Is he goes by the name of Nobi. When I was younger, because I outgrew superheroes when by the time I reached like first grade, because I started out small with the starter set with the Universal monsters.
Of
That was my
course,
starter kit right there.
of
Then
course.
in second grade, my grandfather, rest in peace on my father's side, we watched sci-fi, AMC. So he showed me all these
Oh, that's cool.
slasher
He
movies.
welcomed you in.
Yeah, he showed me all these slasher movies. And that's where my love of horror just really deepened from there. And I'm going to say it, and people could really be like, man, Max is a psycho for this. I looked at people like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, and this is where it relates to the rapper I brought up before. His meme was Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees were my superheroes growing up. They were. To me, that's how I looked at them.
In a demented way, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of are.
I mean, they're
Because
the
they're
ones that you pay
characters.
the ticket to watch. That was my gripe with Halloween Ends. Is like that's what you're paying to see. That's the ticket. Is
Yeah,
they put them on the poster.
and when he dies in the car compactor, that's like if say like I'm trying to think Iron Man dies. If he was thrown into like for me, you know what I mean? That's just
Right. It's like what?
yeah. That's
I
how it
know.
felt for me.
Yeah, yeah. And so now I know why you hate it,
Yeah.
especially when you tell me that. It's like just taking this beloved character and just
No, just setting flames to it, you know. It's just unbelievable. But he can come back from the flames, but just throwing
that's
him in the
true.
compactor. It is
He's been through crazier. I
yeah.
mean, well, actually, I take that back. Probably Chucky's been through crazier. I mean, Chucky's been blown up, cut into bits, shot. I mean, they all come back.
No, they do. But what have been some movies besides the Halloween Kills, the ones that we've been getting? Because I'm big on the '80s was the golden era. I've been kind
Oh
of
yeah,
going back to saying I think the '70s was actually the golden era for horror
I
as
think
of
you're
recent.
right.
When you look at the '70s, The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw, the original Halloween,
Oh
Jaws, you
yeah,
really start to look at it. '70s is more superior.
I think 70s is definitely superior. I mean, all of them have their benefits. Like I even go back, like you said, to like the Universal monsters. 30s and 40s have some great horror movies. 50s, you get into like the sci-fi,
The
the
Thing from Another
atomic
World.
age. Yeah, I mean those are so fun though. I think those really shaped a lot of the horror genre though in their own way, but they're a lot more cheesy. But there's a great movie called Them that
Them
I
with the
love.
big ants.
The Big Ants. That movie freaks me out. That's such a cool idea though with big ants. I just love bugs and stuff. But 60s and you get like Night of the Living Dead, Psycho. I mean, that's where it starts to take shape. And then 70s, just like, I mean, and you have underrated like classics like Black Christmas. You seen
In the
that
'70s,
movie?
1974, it's classic.
That movie to me, like Halloween is like a much better movie, but that movie is scarier to me than Halloween.
I agree. And
Like,
it's on the greatest night, the best time of the year. It's
I
safe. You don't
know
think anything above it.
that's why it's subverts your expectation. You're like Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas is like this like sacred, cutesy, nice holiday, and then you just have this terrible guy. Just like, oh, it absolutely is creepy how he calls him and he's like, I'm gonna lick you. Like it's oh my gosh. I love Black Christmas. I discovered that a few Christmases ago because I'm like, I need to get in the Christmas spirit. I'm like, Black Christmas. I'm like,
Black
oh, it's a
Christmas is the
movie
perfect
Christmas.
way.
I had to like ruin my Christmas in like the best way possible though, because now I watch it every year.
Yeah, that's a must watch every Christmas. Forget Home Alone, guys. You got to watch
Yeah,
Black Christmas.
yeah, no Grinch. We're watching Black
Right,
Christmas. But
but what
yeah,
movies have impressed you from the 2000s, where you could say the 2010s, 20? Because we're only 2 years into the 2020s here. But what movies have
that's
impressed you? Because when I
that's
look at
true.
it, I'm tired of the remakes. There's no
Well, actually, I do
originality
have a list
anymore.
of this. I do have a list of this. Let me I know I have this list. I'm gonna make this into a video, but I guess you'll get a little sneak peek into. It's kind of my um favorite modern horror movies, I guess.
Mhm.
If I can find it. Don't tell me I lost it again. Um, shoot. Now I can't find it. Oh well. Well, it was movies like from the 2010s. I mean, you have like Hereditary. You got um Unsane, which was a super underrated movie. I don't know if you saw that one, but
Yeah,
that was an awesome movie. Um, 10 Cloverfield Lane. I really love the
John
Cloverfield
Goodman.
movies, the original Cloverfield movie. Uh, Upgrade, Upgrade Lee Winnell's movie. I don't know if that's fully horror. It's like sci-fi action horror, but great movie. I mean, there have been a lot of the Saw movies are like dabbling into modern. I enjoy a lot of those. The Jigsaw movie, Spiral, hoping the new one will get back to form, but I still enjoy them for what they are. Uh, you've got, man, I'm just trying to think of Babadook. I enjoyed. More recently, The Black Phone.
Mm.
I really love The Black Phone. Jordan Peele's stuff. Nope. Get Out. Us. I like all of them. Uh, I mean, you have like a new wave of like horror coming in. It's kind of a different feel. The only thing I worry about with the horror genre is that I don't want it to get too pretentious because I'm in some A24 groups and like I like the elevated horror, but I feel like it takes itself too seriously and like you have to have a little dose of stupid,
Yeah.
because horror is great when it's like really wacky to me. Like that's what the 80s did so well. Is it took the 70s was the very grounded, like Jaws, like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it just like ramped it up to 1,000. You have like Evil Dead and Chucky and all of these wacky
And you
characters
even
and
like movies like The Stuff, so
oh, the stuff. I love
yeah.
the stuff. Yeah, I did a whole thing about like underrated. I'm gonna keep that going because there's so many movies don't get talked about, just like the stuff. But movies that are just like so bonkers. Like, how did this get made? What were these people thinking? But it's so captivating. And there was that movie that came out last year, *Malignant*, that James
Mm.
Wan did. And to me, that was like paying homage to those types of movies. Like, what the frig is that? Like, it's so weird. Uh, but I enjoy those a lot. And then you get into the 90s, and I have a deep respect for the 90s horror. A lot of people don't talk about it, but there were some really solid movies. I mean, Scream always comes to mind,
Candyman.
Candyman. Yeah, but you also have like Silence of the Lambs, you have
Yeah.
Misery.
I Know What You
Um,
Did Last Summer.
yeah, I actually haven't finished I Know What You Did Last Summer, so I need to watch that. But I Know What You Did Last Summer. Uh gosh. Oh man. I don't know. There's too many. There's too many horror movies. And 2000s started high. Like you have like Saw, I mean, was early 2000s. You had like The Ring, and you had like some of those ghostly movies that were
Keepers
pretty big.
Creepers.
Yeah, and then it like fell off a little bit. And it like you got into all those remakes. You had Friday the 13th remake, Nightmare on
Nightmare
Elm
on
Street
Elm Street.
remake. It was just like, and then finally it started to take off a little in the 2010s, but really like the late 2010s, and now we're getting into another renaissance. I think.
Yeah.
I hope.
I hope. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen next, especially now that Halloween ends. I hope it's not the end, but now that we finally reached the end with this abysmal trilogy, and just move on from it,
Yeah.
just to see. But in my opinion, to me, the top two movies that I can think of off like right now in my head from the 2010s, Sinister
Mhm.
and Orphan. Those two movies, there's something about those two that are
I
so
keep
unique and
hearing
different.
about Orphan. I've not seen Orphan. I'm pretty
Wow.
sure I've seen Sinister. I don't remember it very well. I feel like I mix it up with Insidious, but I just
Okay.
watched Insidious again. I really like
That was
that
on
movie.
Sci-Fi, right?
What was that?
Insidious, right? That was just on Sci-Fi.
Was it? I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, it's a great movie. You know, I love the Lee Winnell James Wan duo that they got going on. But Sinister is the Scott Derrickson, if I'm not mistaken, the
Yeah.
guy who did the Black Phone. But Orphan I haven't seen, but I hear it's like really good
Yeah, no,
and
you gotta
really
watch it.
scary.
You gotta watch this.
Why? And how was that? They did a Orphan First Kill or whatever, like a sequel. Was that any good?
It's a prequel. It was decent, but when you watch the first one,
Like no comparison.
there's nothing. It was jaw dropping when I first saw it. I saw it, I think, when I was in fifth grade. Completely jaw dropping. I've never seen anything like that before.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta watch
Wow.
that.
Because when I see like the promotional stuff, it reminds me of something like The Omen, like creepy
Mm.
kid kind of
No,
vibe.
nothing like that. You think
Really?
I can't give you much details about it because it
Okay.
gives it away.
Yeah. I'll go in blind then.
Yeah, go in blind and you'll leave whatever, you'll walk out of your living room or wherever you go, your friend's house, jaw dropped because you're
Yeah.
like, what was that?
Well, I'm excited to watch it now, and I need to see this movie.
No, you got to
Okay.
see that, man. Hellfest is another one that's been growing on me as well. I don't know
I
if
need
you've
to
seen.
watch that. I've been wanting to watch that because that has that the haunted house
Yeah, and the
element.
haunt, that's what you do.
I know, and I when I saw that movie was coming out, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go see that, and then I never did, and then I heard some bad word of mouth from it, so I didn't see it. But I bought it. I have it on DVD. I've just yet to see it because I'm holding on to it because I'm like, maybe I'll watch it this season actually because I feel like now's a good time of year to watch it
Yeah.
when
No,
the haunted houses are really relevant. You know?
it is. But when you look at the horror genre now, especially with Halloween, do you think Halloween is underrated? Because when you look at it, there's a lot of people that don't celebrate as much, especially like where I'm from, like right now. Do you feel like it feels though Halloween is kind of that underrated holiday where people
I
just don't celebrate?
I feel like there's like I don't know. There's some kind of thing where people reach an age limit, like, oh, that's for kids. Like Halloween's for kids. And I don't think that's true. And you also get this thing like it's big in America, but overseas it's not as popular. Like I've gotten a lot of subscribers saying, like, hey, I'm from like the UK and Halloween is not what it is over there. And we want it to be. So because of like YouTube and people sharing their love for it, it is growing, but the the audience that it's going for needs to expand too because I feel like a lot of it's going for kids or like people in the niche, but it's something that everyone can celebrate. And I think it's such a good holiday and season because you think of all the other holidays, and I like a lot of like I really love Christmas. You have like Easter or St. Patrick's Day or all these other ones, but even Thanksgiving, they have this like prerequisite where you have to be with your family. You have to do this to celebrate it correctly. But Halloween, there's nothing you have to do. You can do whatever you want. There's no obligations. It is the freest holiday. And that's probably why people who love it say it's the best because you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. No, to me it's the best, and they need to make it a freaking national holiday. The fact that they haven't made it a national
No,
holiday drives me nuts. Can we
that
get
is,
that done? Like whoever's in office, right? You know what I mean? President Biden, whoever. Can we get this
yeah,
done? You know?
yes, please. I will vote for whoever does that. You'll have my vote. Like, maybe they need to like make the day after Halloween the holiday or something because people want to stay up late and they can't.
Yeah,
Like I'll even
exactly.
notice this year with my haunted house, when I do the haunted house on a Friday night or a Saturday night, I it goes till like 10, 11 p.m. This year, I guarantee it's gonna clock out at like 9:30 because people don't stay up, you know, or
No.
their kids got to go to school the next day. And I'm like, man, they can't celebrate. Bums me out.
No, it
Because
bums me
even
out. I remember
officially,
being younger and trick or treating, and then the next day you gotta, or going to school on Halloween, and then you go the next day. We need, it should be a 2 day event. Okay, we're gonna stretch this out. A two
that's
day
fine
event
by me.
off,
Let's
off.
do it. I mean, we'll even take, I'm willing to part with the first 2 days of Thanksgiving break. Like, take the Monday and Tuesday off and put them where Halloween goes. Because I
Exactly.
only need Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for Thanksgiving. So I'll be
Eh,
good. Just give me
Yeah.
Halloween, you know? And this is also why I could never work, because for a while I wanted to be a pizza delivery driver because I thought that'd be a cool job. But apparently, from what I've heard from people who work in the pizza industry, you can't have off Halloween because it's a huge day for them.
Wow. Yeah, forget
Same
that.
for New Year's, because when you think about it, people don't really cook for those
No.
pizza, like just like Super Bowl Sunday or whatever. So I'm like, yep, no pizza places. I gotta be off for Halloween. That's how it goes.
Oh man, but how do you, besides the haunt? Is that pretty much how you celebrate your Halloween?
Well, so I run myself a little ragged on Halloween. Halloween's my favorite day of the year, but I'm also stressed because I try to upload a bunch of videos. I'm going to try to back off a little bit. I'm just going to post a couple. I usually post some kind of short film that my friends and I do. And I try to upload a video of me saying some scary stories at night. Work on the haunted house. I also have a tradition that I always have to watch, even if it's in the background. I have to watch the original Halloween on Halloween. I've done it like every year.
Yeah,
Because
that has to be a
there are
tradition.
other Halloweeny movies that I like have on the list, like Halloween 3, Trick or Treat. There's several horror movies that I need to see. But if I don't play the original Halloween on Halloween, I feel like I'm missing out on something. Like it's got to be on. It's the vibe.
Yeah.
So I have that on, and I'll edit in the morning, and then I'll get some breakfast. Usually it's like Dunkin' Donuts because they have Halloween donuts. I can cram my face with sugar, and then I work on the haunted house. Um, I also watch a lot of other YouTubers' content because a lot of YouTubers drop like a Halloween special. I like to see what they have to offer. So I do that, and then I have to make sure my stuff comes out correctly. Sometimes I go live. I like to chat with people on Halloween just to let them know, because it's I my whole channel builds up to that day. I get the final grind out because I know in November I get to have kind of a break. So
Yeah.
it becomes a big day for me. But I always look forward to it. I love it.
Yeah. And as soon as November 1st comes, it's 365 days until Halloween again.
I know. And there's like an excitement there. Like now I get to plan for next Halloween.
Yeah.
But I want to do a video on this, but I have like post Halloween depression, like postpartum depression, but for Halloween. Because like you put so much time and energy into it and then just it's gone. And the community cares. Like real buffs, like horror buffs, Halloween buffs, they still care. But people at large, like they're like, okay, it's over. Put up Thanksgiving stuff now or Christmas.
Yeah,
Just moves on.
I'm not big into that. I mean,
Yeah, just like
you call me Scrooge. I know you like Christmas, but I really don't need to see freaking Christmas trees in October. I don't need to be hearing jingle bells with
oh,
two
I
weeks left to go.
swear, like go in the Home Depot now. They don't even have any Halloween. It's all Christmas. I'm like, who's buying this?
Yeah, no.
Like, I'll enjoy Christmas as much as the next guy when it's
It's time.
supposed to be Christmas. Like, there's another holiday.
Exactly. They skip right over Thanksgiving and then
Go right into Christmas. I
it,
mean,
Christmas
it
should
makes them a
start
lot
Black
of money.
Friday.
What?
Christmas should start. We should really start prepping Black Friday. That's
That's
when it's
true.
okay. You got the trees. You can play your jingle bells. Black Friday.
Right. Yeah, it's so overblown. It's kind of like it's kind of like it makes so much money that they have to. They're like, hey, just to remind you, Christmas is coming up. You need to buy those things for those
Yeah.
people. And I feel like Christmas has kind of been ruined in a way. And same
It's
with Thanksgiving, because like it's supposed to be the holidays are supposed to be like a time where you like are
sit with your family.
thankful to be with your family and you're appreciative, but then it's like, but I want
Yeah.
this, so it like ruins the point. And to me, sometimes there's like a point where, because Christmas is very sappy, it's very like ooey gooey, cute, and it's so overloaded that there's a point during Christmas season. Usually, it's like a week or so before Christmas that I get like a really strong urge to like go back to Halloween. Like I just want it to be creepy or like mean again for like a day, because I think they complement one another in a way. But like if you go to the store and you see Christmas and Halloween stuff next to each other, it is like the weirdest thing. Like it feels like you're on an alien planet because you have like bloody hands and like witches and like spiders and like cutesy like Santa Claus jingle bell. Like it's so weird.
No, I've
Uh,
seen it.
yeah, and it's only getting worse. Like I saw Christmas stuff in September. Like what?
Yeah.
Like even if you get ready for it the day after Halloween, like come on, September makes doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's messed up.
Yeah.
Like give it rushes them too, because then when Christmas, I've seen this too. When it's a week before Christmas, the stores have Valentine's Day stuff in.
It's always
I'm
preparing for the next holiday.
like you're not even letting us enjoy the thing. You just got to keep pushing, like so it never ends. I don't know. I don't like that. Like let us enjoy it now, and then I'll get to the next one. Like it can have its time. Also, if you're setting up Valentine's Day stuff at the end of December, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Like if you're
And when
setting
we
up
reach Valentine's Day, it's Easter time.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a vicious cycle. Um, and I've seen people that they set up for the next holiday before the holiday that they should be celebrating even has happened. I don't even know how that makes sense. Like it'll be 2 days before St. Patrick's Day and they have their Easter up. That does not make sense.
No, the people where I live, because I'm from Connecticut in the tri-state area here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when COVID was really rampant and it was taking over from the point of where tons of people were dying and it was so depressing. People were putting all the Christmas lights out and putting all their Christmas stuff out already, and I'm like, wow, like really, like what? Like I get you got to do whatever to cope on what we were going through at that time, but it's like, wow, we're really
Yeah.
decorating that early.
Yeah, I know. I mean, people want something to celebrate, but I'm like, why not make it Halloween?
Yeah,
It's so great. And like Christmas is limited. Like you got Santa Clauses, elves, snowmen, reindeer. Like that's kind of it. It's always been that, and it feels like it always will be that. But Halloween could be anything. That's why it's so fun. Like you could have a killer, you could have a killer plant, you could have a clown, aliens. I mean, it could be anything. It's such a creative day, a creative season, really. Because technically, to me, Halloween is the 31st, but it really is October.
yeah,
Like October is the celebration
it's
of
the
the
whole
spooky
month.
stuff. It's the whole month, yeah. Because you
Yes,
can't fit in everything you want to do for Halloween in one day.
no,
That night is just kind of the final boom.
I agree. And then when it's over, post depression, which I do
Yeah,
go through, I'm still watching horror movies a couple days after, and it's just I'm not ready for the Halloween season to go. But it's always preparing me for next year, and I'm
yep,
able to move on because just doing what I do with my shows and stuff. But
right. Yeah, you keep the grind going.
yeah,
But like
same for you. But you got to take a break. You take your
I do
break.
take a break. Well, I have a little ritual now. So when Halloween's over, I go early in the morning on November 1st to all the stores and I grab anything I can that's on sale because
Discounts.
discounts are awesome. 50%, 75%. Eventually, if you wait long enough, some of them are 90%. And like you might not think it's a big deal, but that stuff adds up. Like even the little makeup things. Like I went one time and they had little bottles of fake blood. And it was like originally $1. It was 90% off, so it was 10 cents. So I bought like 30 of those suckers, and it was like $3 for 30 things of blood. So I still have them. I still have tons of blood, so I'll never run out for doing horror movies. Yeah, so hit all of the spots that you want to go to. Spirit does half off. Party City, I'm pretty sure, does half off. Usually the bigger box stores do even bigger discounts because they want it gone even faster because they're moving in the Christmas crap.
Yeah.
But they can really get that good stuff going. So I usually make a couple videos about what I got then. Then I kind of take a little bit of a break. Then I usually do like a spooky Christmas celebration where I talk about Christmas horror movies, Gremlins, Black Christmas, Krampus, all that. And then I start gearing up for, because to me, when the new year hits, that kind of starts the new countdown to Halloween. Because I know like companies like Distortions Unlimited, they start sharing details about their new stuff for the next season because they're working all the time getting their new stuff ready to go. And then some of the companies start sharing their stuff. And then when summertime hits, it's back. It's a crazy cycle. Like in my head, my calendar is so whacked. Like to me, in my head, Halloween is like the last day of the year. Like the year starts November 1st in my head and it builds up to Halloween. And then November 1st is like January 1st to me.
Wow.
I don't know
No,
why my brain works like that. That's
I
just
could
how
get
it
down
goes.
with that. I'm not a big New Year's guy. I think New Year's is depressing. There's something about it I just don't like. I wish I could just sleep from December 29th to January 2nd so I
I
don't have
en-
to remember it.
that's true. I enjoyed the celebration of New Year's. Like I like fireworks and that kind of stuff. But after New Year's subsides, like once you said when you hit like November, like January 2nd, you're going, I was getting ready for this because now it's just January again.
And there's nothing to January.
There's nothing to January, yeah. Except that this January I'm excited because that Megan movie comes out
Yeah.
and that movie looks pretty good. So I'll be excited for January this year.
And then
Uh,
in March, I think the new Scream 6 comes out. Is that
uh,
March?
yes, and that is a weird thing, and I wanted to touch on that. Not necessarily about Scream itself, because I liked the last Scream movie, but why in the heck are they releasing the Scream movies in January and March?
Yeah, that's confusing to me.
Have them come out in September or October.
I think
Like
they're
that.
afraid they're going to get blown away in the box office by the Halloweens. I think that's what it is.
Well, clearly they're not now.
No, no.
Well, next year though, so the Halloween guys like David Gordon Green and them are moving to The Exorcist.
I did hear about that, and you'll be
Which,
happy about that.
well, I don't know. I'm kind
Well,
of
yeah, if
terrified.
they, I mean, okay, I'll take a couple steps back. They've ruined Halloween, so now
I
they're going to
mean,
come and ruin The
I
Exorcist.
kind of have to see it to see what they do to my Exorcist. Well, here's the thing: I've never seen any of the actual Exorcist sequels,
Oh, like
so
two, The Heretic, and
yeah, I
part
haven't seen any of
three.
those. I hear three is really good.
Three is decent, yeah.
Yeah, I heard three is decent, but to me, that first one, like, that's like a perfect movie. Like, there's
Yeah,
nothing else that needs to be said. So
exactly.
to invoke it and bring it back, they better have their A game, or I'm gonna be really upset. Like, I'm just gonna stop watching if it's really bad. Like, just why? Just make a new movie.
Exactly.
It's not that hard. Like, there
No.
are other movies that are fine to have sequels for. Like, the biggest one, hello, is Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th should have tons of sequels because it never was like this. Like even the first Friday the 13th, like the first Halloween is like an iconic, great cinematic movie. But Friday the 13th has always been like schlock.
Yeah.
So just keep making them, even if they're not good. Sure, what the heck?
Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell,
Yeah, like even the Corey Cunningham thing, it could have fit better in a Friday the
Friday
13th.
13th film.
Like, cause they've done weird crap like that. Like
A
have
New
have the
Beginning
three
with
big
Roy.
girl or the New Beginning or Jason Goes to Hell or he goes to New York. Like that's you can have weird stuff. But when you mess with the formula for these other franchises, you're getting yourself in hot water with the fans. And so I hope they did good on the new Scream.
Yeah, I agree.
This next Scream, my fingers are crossed. Apparently it's in New York.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Ghostface takes
Ghostface
Manhattan.
takes Manhattan. So I'm that's intriguing to me.
And no Nev Campbell.
And no Nev Campbell. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I got to see the movie. I mean, I feel like they did a good send off to her character in the last one. Like now they introduced these new kids, so I'm okay with that. But I don't know. It feels like it doesn't have her blessing on it. That's my thing.
Yeah, no, but you have Courtney Cox coming back, so that's like when you need her, you need Nev Campbell there too.
Right. I mean, Courtney Cox works because of Nev and because of Arquette. I mean, I know why Arquette's not in the movie
Yeah,
now.
he got killed off.
Yeah, but to not have both of them back is like really weird.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I'm intrigued because I like that last one a lot. But Hopefully they don't pull a Halloween Ends and do something that no one wants to see.
No, horrible. And I haven't seen the new Hellraiser yet. I'm not big on it. I'm not.
I did see the new Hellraiser movie.
I saw
I
you did
should.
a video. I haven't had the chance
I
because I think
did.
you did that and Rob Zombie's
I
awful
did. I did Rob
monsters.
Zombie's Monsters. I did Mr. Harrigan's Phone, and I did Hellraiser as a podcast where I just kind of talked about it. And
Awful. The monsters was awful.
yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, he loves the Munsters. That's I apparently for sure, but he missed out on all the things that made the show special. Like he just made the characters and their makeup. And I mean, Grandpa Munster, he was pretty good in the movie. But other than him, the casting was really weird. And it just didn't feel like the Munsters. And it was like cringy. Like the humor was like for babies. I feel like Rob Zombie's like he's known for this one style. And it's like this really vulgar, really in your face, gory, like intense.
Devil's
So he's like, well,
Rejects.
yeah. And he's like, I can't do that for the Munsters. So let me like make it for kids. And his definition of like family kid movie is like babies. Like it felt like a toddler movie. It felt like Coco Melon. Like ABC to me. I'm like, even I don't know, like even like scary stories to tell in the dark I can think of, or like Adam's Family, or even Hotel Transylvania. It has like some kind of it's family oriented,
Hocus
but
Pocus.
yeah, Hocus Pocus. It has a little edge to it. But this just felt like I don't know. I don't know. And it was just aside from all the story elements that didn't make any sense, it just was not a good, well-made movie. It
No,
just looked cheap.
horrible.
And it's sad because the sets actually were cool. Like the set designers did a good job making the house look neat. But then they lit it with these horrible neon lights. And just man, they really did not do themselves any favors with that movie. And they flushed out like the characters had good makeup. Like the makeup on Herman and Lily and Grandpa was good. And then they just blast like a green light in their face. I'm like, I can't even see the
Yeah,
makeup.
no.
Like he doesn't even have to be painted green because you made him green with the light.
Exactly. Butchered.
Weird choices, man.
Completely butchered. But that's what it is. It's the Rob Zombie. I'm not the biggest Rob Zombie fan, but you can tell how influential he's been in these horror movies. Like just this complete gore fest, which I don't agree with. I'm really strict on how I like horror movies. I think the less blood, the better sometimes. When you look at horror movies like Psycho, Halloween, when you look at these classics, a lot of them didn't have blood.
Oh yeah. Do you have any position on the Terrifier movie or movies?
I've seen the first one. I think it's just over the top, and
Mhm.
I mean, everyone's gonna like something. It's not my
Yeah.
topic, but I am surprised. I've been reading the reviews about Terrifier 2 because people have been saying it's good, but then they say it's the bloodiest thing they've ever seen. Why is the rating like on the same when you look at the Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and the ratings, why is it rated the same as Jaws? Like how is this like on the same rating scale?
Right. I don't get see,
Yeah,
I never trust those critic websites because how do you compare some movies? And it's like I went to Rotten Tomatoes and they have the top like 100 horror films of all time. And number one is like Get Out. And look, I love Get Out. One of my favorite modern movies. I love Jordan Peele, but it's not in a
it's
far
not.
cry the best horror movie of all time.
No.
It's like it's the way that like their rating system works based on how many people review it and how many positive versus negative. It's like this whole thing, but when they do that kind of stuff, it throws off like you said, Terrifier 2 and Jaws. Like that
Yeah.
there's no comparison. I
No.
haven't seen Terrifier 2, but there's no comparison
No.
to like Jaws.
Yeah, no, there isn't. Because I think Jaws has a either a 7 or a 10, 7 or 8 out of 10 on IMDb, and same as Terrifier 2. And I'm like, there's no way that this movie
Right.
has
That's
that
the
great
thing
of a
is
rating compared to
yeah,
as a masterpiece. There just isn't.
exactly. And like we talked about before, I'm kind of a squeamish guy, and I heard that this movie's really brutal. And so I looked up a scene from it on YouTube. It got leaked. Scene. I watched it and was like, man, I'm glad I didn't see this in the theater. Like this is intense. Now, to give the filmmakers credit, it really looked like they put a lot of work into the practical effects. I'm a big advocate for the practical effects, and I think his name's Damien Leone. he really wants to showcase his talent in the effects department. But to me, just seeing like people get like filleted is not really what I want to watch, especially when you know they're gonna die. Like if there's a struggle, like Saw, there's some kind of struggle where they might live. That's like the anticipation. Are they gonna make it out or are they gonna die? But when you know someone's gonna die and they're just being like ripped open, I'm like, I don't need to see that. Like they can just die. It can be, oh, that's it. You know, that's the scene. But it just keeps going and keeps going. And he's got a knife, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'd like to maybe see the movie eventually to have a full stance on it. Uh, it looks like they had a lot of fun doing it. They made it on a shoestring budget. I mean, it's like 200 grand or something, which is nuts. Like even the original Halloween's 300 grand.
Yeah.
So kudos to them for having a big successful movie with a limited budget, cast and stuff. And the Art the Clown is a great, like, iconic looking character. So they got that down. But is it on the same level as like Jaws?
Yeah.
No.
No, absolutely not. Disgraceful. Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not big on the CGI, so I'm right there with you when it comes to special effects. But man, I mean, we've been here for a while. So is there anything else you want to let the audience know here that you have upcoming with your platform, Hauntformer, or anything else you want to let them know that we didn't cover here tonight?
Oh man. Well, I mean, check out my channel if you like Halloween and horror stuff. I do it all year. So if you feel like you're in February and you want to be in the spooky mood, I still make spooky content in February. And I talk about the stuff that's coming out in stores the following year. I talk about the horror movies coming out. Like I mentioned earlier, I wrote a book called Kamuffins, which is like a horror anthology book. Perfect thing to read around this time of year. I also do like narrations on my channel. So if you like listening to like podcast style horror stories, I do that. So I got a little bit of something for everybody is what I'm saying. So you can find something that you like if you are into anything Halloween related.
For all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.
Halloween. Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, Mac, thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it. Anytime.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Max.
Yeah. Anytime, you're always welcome here to come on the show, wherever you have to promote.
Ready. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Do it.
Thank you for everything that you're doing, man. Keep going. I look forward to seeing you doing some big things here, especially with the Travel Channel. I want to see that happen.
Yeah. Hey, Travel Channel, if you're watching, reach out to me. Hey, if any of the other guests that you've had on are watching, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to them too, especially Tony Todd. I'm a big Candyman fan.
Yeah, if they're watching, reach out. And we'll go from there, man. And let them know where they can follow you on social media and all that stuff.
My Instagram's at Mak Ralston. Facebook is just Mak Ralston. I had a Twitter, but I don't really use it that much anymore because Twitter is kind of insane. But I might bring it back. And then of course the YouTube handle. And man, am I on anything else? I don't know. I think I have a TikTok. Maybe. I just post stupid, goofy videos on there. I really should post more Halloween related stuff, so I'll try to get that going too. Yeah. But yeah, that's my presence out there.
You already know. There it is, man. I want to thank you, Mac, again. Enjoy the rest of your night, man. And I'm gonna send you all the details soon when it airs and everything, so you'll be able to catch the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it, man. Keep going, keep doing your thing, man. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Yeah, for real. Great show you have here.
I appreciate that, man. And happy Halloween. Enjoy the rest of your October, too.
You too. Happy Halloween.
Yep. Happy Halloween, man. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night, Max.
Peace out.